Why did the hottest rock band of the 80s almost sue the hottest boy band of the 2010s? And what are they saying if you play their songs backward? Even the biggest Def Leppard fan might not know these facts. Def Leppard became one of the biggest bands in the world during the 1980s, but the band only exists because of coincidence. According to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, teenager and budding singer Joe Elliot was late for his bus one day. While waiting around, he met another teen named Pete Willis. As fate would have it, they both were wannabe rock stars. They hit it off, with Willis introducing Elliot to his band Atomic Mass. This project counted among its members bassist Rick Savage. But Elliot didn't want to join this pre-existing collective, having his own ideas about the rock band he wanted to form. He wanted one that mixed heavy metal guitars with pop-friendly melodies. The name he had in mind? Def Leppard.
At the time, you just think, this is great. You know, we're going to be huge.
Willis and Savage were intrigued and left Atomic Mass to join Elliot's project. The band quickly took form, adding guitarist Steve Clark, and adopted its new name. According to the group's first drummer, Tony Kenning, Elliot came up with the name while doodling. Joe used to make posters up for bands whilst at school and started making up band names. We thought the name was pretty cool, and later I suggested changing the spelling. After just 15 months as the drummer for Def Leppard, Kenning was out of the band. His replacement, 15-year-old Rick Allen. Willis wouldn't make it for the long haul with Def Leppard either. While his playing appeared on the band's first two albums, and he toured the US with the band in 1981, his alcohol consumption affected his attitude and abilities. Allen claimed, every time he had a drink, it would completely change his personality. Willis became so unreliable that Elliot put guitarist Phil Collen on standby. Def Leppard officially fired Willis in 1982, with Collen getting his job. The Union Jack is the national flag of the United Kingdom, and two native acts have used the pattern as the cornerstone of their look: Ginger Spice of the Spice Girls and Def Leppard. Rocking the red, white, and blue flag of their homeland is more than simply national pride. In fact, it all started accidentally early in the band's history. According to Elliot in a SiriusXM interview, Allen wore Union Jack short shorts as early as 1981, but no one took much notice. But then Allen and Elliot wore Union Jack wear in the 1983 video for their single Photograph. Originally, Elliot had allocated 25 pounds for an outfit, and after he bought what he wanted, he had 8 pounds left, just enough to buy a Union Jack shirt. After Elliot and Allen sported their Union Jack wear in the video, fans started wearing Union Jack clothes to live shows. Seeing this, the band decided to make shirts like Elliot's for the merchandise table, saying, "We thought it was hilarious, all these Americans buying this Union Jack shirt, and like 200 years ago they'd be kicking us out of the country." Def Leppard is considered a definitive British band, and yet the group had a hard time finding attention or success in their homeland. None of its singles from the late 70s and early 80s made it above number 41 on the UK singles chart. Their first two albums fell off the British album chart quickly as well. By the time the group was recording their video for Photograph from their third album, Pyromania, they didn't have very much money. Fortunately, the video for Photograph is what broke the band out, but in America. Elliot told Songfacts, "It went through the roof because of MTV. Once people started getting cable all over the States, this fledgling MTV thing took off. MTV led to radio airplay, which led to more MTV, and Photograph hit number 1 on Billboard's rock chart. Only after Def Leppard found fame in America did they find greater success in their homeland, with the 1987 single Animal being the group's first hit in the UK.
Joe Elliott's got vocals like nobody else, and I think that is the main reason why they're, so big over here.
German-language music was seemingly all over English-language radio in the mid-1980s. Nina's 99 Luftballons hit number 2 on the pop chart, while Falco topped it with Rock Me Amadeus. Def Leppard scored one of its earliest hits with Rock of Ages, a song which begins with a high-pitched individual stating, apparently in German, "Gunter Glieben glatten Globen." But don't bother running it through an online translator because, according to the Def Leppard FAQ, it doesn't mean anything. While recording the song, producer Robert Mutt Lang grew so weary of giving a 1, 2, 3, 4 countdown for takes that he began to make up funny nonsense phrases instead. Backmasking is a phenomenon involving musical artists or producers inserting backwards dialogue or singing into songs. Sometimes when they are played in reverse, they reveal a secret message. Def Leppard experimented with backmasking and hidden messages, generating both mystery and controversy. On their late 80s hit Rocket, a strange voice can be heard near the beginning of the song. Reversed, it's merely Elliot singing, "We're fighting with the gods of war," a clip from the band's song, Gods of War. Def Leppard's only #1 hit on the American pop chart was Love Bites in 1988. For years, a rumor persisted that, near the end of the song, there was a hidden crude message about Jesus Christ. In 1997, Colin refuted the idea in a Q&A for Mercury Records' website. For the last time, there is no reference to Jesus Christ. There is, however, a keyboard vocoder making fun of a Yorkshire accent. On December 31, 1984, Alan was driving outside Sheffield, England. He didn't judge a curve correctly, lost control, slammed into a stone wall, and flipped the car. Despite wearing his seatbelt, Alan was thrown from the car and his left arm was torn off.
I guess as I rolled this car, the seatbelt was the thing that actually took my arm off.
A police officer soon arrived, as did a nurse who lived nearby, who had a cooler of ice in preparation for a New Year's party. Together they located the arm, loaded it up, and sent it with Alan to the hospital. Microsurgeons worked for 10 hours to reattach the arm, but complications led them to believe that Alan's best shot at survival would be a full amputation. And just like that, the 21-year-old drummer had seemingly lost his livelihood along with his limb. Amazingly, while in recovery, Alan realized that he could still keep good time with his feet. He would develop a custom drum kit which combined his feet and remaining arm with electronic programming, allowing his drumming career to continue and to flourish. Hysteria is considered a landmark album, bridging the harder-edged British metal of the 70s with the slick hair metal of the 80s. The album's fresh but familiar sound led to more than 20 million copies sold, but that may not have happened had Hysteria gone as originally planned. Mutt Lange was initially on board, having produced Def Leppard's last 2 albums, High and Dry and Pyromania, but he pulled out due to exhaustion after working with the Cars on their album, Heartbeat City. Group management installed Jim Steinman as replacement producer, even though he was known for an overly theatrical style, as heard on Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell. This led the band to consider him a bad fit. He thought the band tuning their instruments was a take, he'd show up hours late to sessions, and then wanted to change the carpet in the studio because he didn't like it. After 8 half-finished songs, Def Leppard forced management to buy Steinman out of his contract. After a delay due to Alan's lost arm, Lange was brought back on to produce Hysteria after all. Emboldened by the multi-platinum success of Pyromania, which also packed a whopping 6 singles that hit the top 40 of the American mainstream rock chart, Def Leppard and Lange set out with even loftier ambitions for its follow-up, Hysteria.
The album is that's the king. We're slaves to this record.
Colin was quoted in an interview claiming that Lange said, "Let's make a rock version of Michael Jackson's Thriller, an album you can have 7 singles off." The numerous singles idea got back to Def Leppard's cover designer, Andy Airfix, who was dealing with a monumental shift in his profession at that moment. Vinyl records, with their huge covers, were on the way out in favor of compact discs. Knowing this, he approached the art for Hysteria as a celebration of 12-inch vinyl before its death. Airfix designed the cover by breaking down the image into 9 separate and distinct sections. Those panels became the artwork for each of the commercial singles off the album, which included Animal, Pour Some Sugar on Me, and Love Bites. While Def Leppard toured in support of Hysteria, the Rock and Roll Roadshow came to the United States, kicking off in Glen Falls, New York on October 1st, 1987. That night, the band launched an innovative concert format in which they played on a stage positioned in the center of their audience. This is typically referred to as In the Round. Savage told Billboard, "We just did not know how it was going to work because we knew wherever you were on stage, you would always have your back to some part of the audience. The lack of a backstage area presented other challenges. The seating arrangement made it tough to get equipment and people onto the stage." According to Colin's memoir, Adrenalized, crew members hid them in huge laundry baskets and wheeled them on and off stage. When Def Leppard hit big in the US with Pyromania, the band hit the road. They toured some of the biggest arenas in the US and enlisted Swiss hard rock band Krokus to be its opening act. While there was certainly some overlap between their sound and fan bases, the arrangement didn't go well. Allegedly, on the very first night of the tour, the members of Krokus were told to stay off the ramps and scaffolding on stage, as those had been built and reserved specifically for choreographed movements by Elliot. Singer Mark Storace ignored that directive almost immediately. After seeing Def Leppard's show once, he lifted and repeated all of Elliot's moves. This made Def Leppard look like the rip-off artists, which Krokus' manager Butch Stone bragged about to the press. A physical fight then broke out between him and Alan, with Krokus member Chris Von Rohr claiming in an interview, "It became very ugly, and when our manager punched the drummer, naturally we were dumped from the tour." Steve Clark was a heavy drinker, and by the late 1980s, it posed serious problems to his own health and the state of Def Leppard. According to Colin's memoir, Adrenalized, Clark was discovered unconscious in a Minneapolis bar and was taken to a hospital. The band helped Clark get into a rehab center, but when he got out, he started relying on substances again. In January 1991, during a 6-month leave of absence from Def Leppard in order to get sober, Clark died in his sleep. An autopsy reportedly showed that Clark accidentally overdosed on alcohol, codeine, and painkillers. Def Leppard continued on, and in 1992 started playing shows with a new guitarist, seasoned metal guitarist Vivian Campbell, a veteran of the bands Dio and Whitesnake. Def Leppard is ranked among the most successful rock and roll bands of all time, selling 100 million albums over the last 40 years. But Def Leppard is all alone in another category. The hard rock band set a world record which remains unchallenged to this day.
Somebody's got to do it for the first time. Why not? It'd be us. We always breaking barriers.
On October 23, 1995, as a publicity stunt to promote the release of its first ever Best Of collection, Vault, Def Leppard Greatest Hits 1980 to 1995, the group played an all-acoustic show in Tangier, Morocco. Then, the band hopped onto a plane for a flight to London, England, where they played a second acoustic concert. After that wrapped, the band took another jet, halfway across the world, to Vancouver, British Columbia, where they played their third and final acoustic set of the day. Never before had a musical group played 3 shows on 3 different continents, all in one 24-hour period. With just one song, Def Leppard inspired 2 major movements that would become hallmarks of hard rock and hair metal. In 1981, the band included the guitar-driven ballad Bringin' on the Heartbreak on the album High and Dry. The song remained a mostly forgotten album cut until 1984, when, following the release of their smash hit Pyromania, Def Leppard issued a remix of the track. This time, the song made a respectable showing on the Billboard Hot 100 pop chart and showed other hard rock bands that they could find airplay and financial success by showing off their softer sides. Some power ballads inspired by the remix included Heaven by Warrant, Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison, and Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue. But when Def Leppard would play Bringing on the Heartbreak live, they quickly got bored with their typical arrangement. Colin claimed, "We thought it would be great if we started it acoustic and then went into Steve Clark's solo." Before long, a number of other prominent hard rock bands were swapping the electric guitars for acoustic ones. This would include the bands Tesla, Scorpions, and Bon Jovi.
I heard that you guys were working on your most sensitive personal song yet. What was the name of it again?
On your knees.
Def Leppard wrapped up a decade plus of pop chart success with the 1993 single Miss You in a Heartbeat. It reached number 39 on the Billboard Hot 100, marking the last time Def Leppard would hit the top 40. It was a bit of a departure for the band, as it was a tender ballad and the only Def Leppard song written entirely by Phil Collen on his own. Also, unlike most other Def Leppard songs, it's not about romance or rock and roll. Colin told Songfacts, "Rory, my son, when he was a little baby, that's when I wrote that about missing the family and all that stuff." But Def Leppard didn't initially record the tune, as Colin gave it to his friend, Bad Company singer Paul Rodgers, to record with his supergroup, The Law. After that version of Miss You in a Heartbeat was a minor hit on American rock radio in 1991, Def Leppard then decided to give it a go. Despite being issued as the B-side of another single, it became a smash hit in the Philippines and Canada. In 1993, Def Leppard put out Miss You in a Heartbeat in the US, where it performed well. Pour Some Sugar on Me was a monster hit for Def Leppard in 1987. The arena rock meets metal sing-along hit number 2 on the Hot 100 and became a time capsule of where pop music was heading at the time. Not only was radio-friendly pop metal picking up steam, but so was hip-hop. Def Leppard cribbed its ideas for the song from another rock band appropriating the conventions of the rap genre. Elliot explained, "When we did Pour Some Sugar on Me, it was only written because Run DMC and Aerosmith had done Walk This Way. All of a sudden, rock and rap did mix. So we wrote our own." The song's origins are almost accidental. Def Leppard had nearly finished recording the album Hysteria and had spent 2 years completing 11 tracks. Elliot started messing with a new idea that he had for a song on an acoustic guitar in the studio when he was all alone. The rest of the band were on sabbatical, and Lang had taken a break.
We just started playing this riff, chorus thing, 3-chord turnaround, and singing the chorus, I guess.
At that point, Lang returned, and after calling the bit the best thing he'd heard for many years, immediately started to record the song as he and Elliot fleshed it out. In 1985, Tipper Gore, wife of Senator Al Gore, formed a committee with other congressional spouses and concerned parents called the Parents Music Resource Center. According to Rolling Stone, Gore and her cohort held hearings about the perceived rise of perverse, profane, and inappropriate content in pop and rock music. They also pressed the need for a rating system to alert parents of impressionable young listeners. The proposed rating system included X for sexual content, V for violence, O for references to the occult, and DA for lyrics about drugs and alcohol. The PMRC singled out 15 songs as the most egregious and representative offenders, which included tunes by metal bands like Judas Priest, Wasp, and Motley Crue. This also included High and Dry Saturday Night, a 1981 Def Leppard track about day drinking.
People shouldn't be talking like that and having those thoughts and feelings.
Elliot defended his band against the attacks, claiming rock and roll songs about partying and drinking were part of the entertainment. The kids like us to do that. We like to do as well, but we don't write about it all the time, and a lot of people seem to think that's it. Boy band sensation One Direction topped the album chart in December 2013 with their album Midnight Memories, powered in part by a hard-rocking title track with a chorus that, to some, bore more than a passing resemblance to the hook of Def Leppard's 1987 staple, Pour Some Sugar on Me. Def Leppard reportedly consulted its lawyers to check if the songs were so similar as to invite a lawsuit or a revision in songwriting credits. However, while members of Def Leppard publicly acknowledged similarities, they declined to file any suits over it. According to Courthouse News Service, back in 2009, Def Leppard found itself on the other side of a lawsuit. They were named as defendants in a suit filed by Trudy Green Management. The company claimed that it agreed to handle the band's affairs in tandem with HK Management for a 7.5% commission. But after handling a 2008 Def Leppard tour of Europe, Green alleged that she was never paid after she had been fired mid-tour. In January 2016, Def Leppard set out on Hysteria on the High Seas, a concert series set on the MSC Divina cruise ship. However, just before the band set sail, Elliot contracted pneumonia.
Everybody gets ill, I mean, whether it be a singer loses his voice or stupidly a guitarist cutting his fingers slicing an orange.
Elliot told Express, "It totally destroyed my vocal cords. My throat doctor said to me, if you weren't you, I'd tell you to retire, because this is never going to get better." While he still embarked on the tour, he ultimately couldn't sing. He'd introduce the band and then watch off stage as bandmates Campbell and Colin took turns filling in on vocals. For the next set of cruise dates, Elliot still hadn't recovered, so Def Leppard recruited a rotating group of replacement vocalists, which included Mr. Big's Eric Martin and Winger's Kip Winger. Elliot called listening to other people sing his songs the weirdest thing he's ever heard. Def Leppard canceled future tour dates while Elliot began his grueling rehabilitation process. He said, "I had to take 5 months of working every single day for an hour or two with my vocal coach, and it took me about 18 months.